bases dropped on a busier than we initially thought Tuesday here at Soccer Down Here. Soccer's morning show kicks off here at 9:06. Yes, I apologize. I apologize for 9:06, trying to get things ready. Morning, Alex. Morning, Ricky. Housekeeping issues tonight. It is the game of the week, North Clayton and Trinity Christian. And so that is where Jason and I will be come later this afternoon. And Friday, we do have matches. We're trying to figure out our venue for that. So Tuesday is North Clayton and Trinity Christian. That's our games of the week tonight, available on the app and online. And Friday, we do have games scheduled. We'll let you know when we have things finalized as to where we are. Wednesday, Dylan Butler, unless he's stuck doing high school championships. Sound familiar? Bart Keeler at 10:30. 10:30 on Thursday, we have South Georgia Tormenta. And if we can pull it off technology-wise, it'll be a fun one. Tormenta at 10:30 on your Thursday. Friday will be normal. Our friends from Beyond Goal should be Greg Garza's turn since Cap did it last week. And 10 o'clock, the weekend whip around, patent pending, trademark coming. So, Jarrett, this morning, we have news from FIFA. Yes, we do. We have news from Violette, and obviously we got to spend time on that thing from yesterday. And probably we're going to spend a bulk of the time on that paper that was released. That investigation. And because this is what happens when you get a news dump. But
this is not, man. Like, yeah, man. I don't even know if it's a news dump so much as
will happen after the show is over.
Yeah, they're just being a. Oh, man, it's a lot.
Yeah, it is.
It's a lot.
It is, no question. It's a lot. But for opening kickoff this morning, brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee, kickoffcoffeeco.com. And don't forget, there's your QR code for those of you who are watching on Twitch. Then, Alex, there's that. Yeah, there's that. There's plenty to talk about. So it's going to be like legal happenings down here this morning. Once again, it's, Kickoff Coffee. Use the code Soccer Down Here 15. Thanks for all of you who have so far. And in turn, they in turn take 10% and reinvest it into the youth game. Very, very cool stuff from our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. Alex, thank you for the link. I will click on it, and we will talk about it as well. All right. So, news out of Austin, Texas. We've been kind of following Violette, the Haitian side that has the 3-0 lead on Austin FC, heading into the second leg of the round of 8 in CONCACAF Champions League, or the round of 16. We've got an update, Jarrett, on what Violette is apparently going to do to make sure they have enough players that can play in this match, so they're not forfeiting 3-0 and then just kind of walking out. As we had pictured it, you just forfeit the match 3-0, and then all of a sudden when you get to the extra 30 or to the shootout, then you sit there and you just kind of storm out with like 7 or 8 folks. All right. So from our friends at KXAN TV in Austin, Texas, Billy Gates, scheduled to play the second leg today against Austin. Signed several new players to field a full team because some regular players can't get into the United States. 2 players from FC Motown, the NPSL team in Morristown, New Jersey, with ties to the Haitian club, will help fill in, as several of Violette's regular players had entry visas denied and won't be allowed in the U.S. 2 other players who already live in the United States have also been tapped to fill out the squad, according to a report by Haitian soccer journalist Caleb Jefta-Pierre. FC Motown confirmed on their Twitter account that Samuel Pompey, a defender, will play for Violette, as well as midfielder Modwindo Germain. Dumi Feed and Jude St. Louis are also joining the side to play in Austin, according to Pierre. All 4 players have been added to Violette's roster page on the CONCACAF website, and obviously were not on the active roster for the previous match. Pierre said Roberto Luima, Olivens Dijon, and Danny Camille, all starters in the previous match, didn't make the trip. It's also not clear how many others didn't make the trip, but reports have said up to 7 players from the first match won't be available. Josh Wolf, quote, "We're preparing ourselves, our staff, and our players to compete tomorrow just like we did when we went to the Dominican. nothing changes.
Have you considered maybe preparing them better than you did for the last time there, Wolfie?
Beat 2, 3, 4. Correct. So Violette's up 3-0, and they're adding NPSL players with ties to the club to try to field a full roster. So that's where we are. So it looks like Violette might be grabbing folks from the NPSL.
You do what you got to do
to try to help things out, and so that's where we are. So yeah, and Coco Violette putting the open tryout sign out for tonight's game, and Ricky with the larger question. I wasn't even sure you could actually do that.
Yeah, I wasn't either. And you know what? Imagine if it works. I mean,
yeah.
Take a beat. Uh-huh. Everybody just, take 5 seconds and think about it for a second.
Uh-huh.
Like not only imagine if they get through, imagine if they win.
Oh yeah. Uh-huh. That is true.
We all get a license to laugh at Austin for, I mean, this is going to have to go to the court of petty arbitration, but God, that's at least a couple years of being able to freely laugh at Austin.
Uh-huh.
Easy.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Yeah, Coco. Roster deadlines be damned with a question mark. And yeah, Ricky, something's got to change. Nix. I could have sworn that CONCACAF said Violette had enough players to play this that could enter the country. CONCACAF gonna CONCACAF. And Pacine. Glad they can field a squad, but how are they able to register these guys?
No one knows.
No one knows. No one knows. And Kefsey, what's the cost outlay for these signings? Probably a uniform with a number on it, without a name on the back, and a flight from Newark. Did they get out of Newark in time because of the weather? Oh, no.
That would honestly make it even funnier. Imagine if you get it all done and you can't get out of Newark, and this turns into just like planes, trains, and automobiles getting to Austin.
Oh, my God. Yes. See, that's another thing. Did they get out? Have they been able to get out of Newark? I got to check. I see, and this is another reason. Like I said, I keep looking to my left sometimes, and folks sit there and comment about it. I've got the Weather Channel off to my left shoulder for situations just like this. So we'll keep an eye on that. Alex, if it's a hardship exception, then they should say that. Otherwise, it's just super weird.
Yeah, and the whole thing is still weird because I feel like we still don't know necessarily, like, we don't know, like, the whole story, like, how much of a hardship are we talking,
Yeah.
Like, how much was there anything they did wrong? Was it the State Department? Was it CONCACAF? Was it FIFA?
Yeah.
Who screwed up here?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Therein lies my question.
Well, that's several questions, but they're all correct. Coco. Yeah, what's the transfer fee going to look like if Violette wins tonight? They want to get those NPSL players full time.
Man, that'd be amazing. So actually, I don't know how much y'all have been paying attention to the World Baseball Classic. Some cat was pitching the other night, struck out Juan Soto and 2 other major leaguers like it was not a big deal. And like right afterward, he got himself a contract with, I believe, the Tigers. Which that's Peter Moylan did the same thing. Peter Moylan made a very good career for himself as a reliever for the Braves, especially in the late aughts, like 2009-ish. Like Peter Moylan, I think pitched like 80 innings, gave up like 1 home run.
Yeah,
but he made a big splash because of his work in the World Baseball Classic for Team Australia. This dude just had a contract because he struck out Juan Soto and a couple other guys on a 1-2-3 inning.
Yeah.
It'd be hilarious if the NPSL guys go out there, ball out, and you get clubs in different regions of CONCACAF going, you know what? I like the cut of his jib.
Yes, exactly. And Nick's, you're probably not wrong. Plane tickets and a per diem. Yeah, but God, they got to get out of Newark if it's the Motown guys. Alex is saying, Jarrett, you might be a bad person. I guess for your thoughts and all of this. If with Austin and Violette specifically, and yeah, Kefsi's 1-day signings only. We don't know. Might be
Alex, you might be right.
might be 1 day with like stuff to go along with it. Ricky, gonna be some renegotiation needed. Absolutely, with this. And David, I think pretty much has it all laid out.
David's correct. For
Yes.
whose fault this is, the list is in fact long and distinguished.
Yes.
I don't think he is incorrect by any stretch, man.
It is choice D, all the above. You
Oh,
and
yeah.
you and you and you and you. Yes.
How could you do this?
Yes,
Well,
for your love.
where would you like me to begin the list?
Uh-huh. Yes, Alex says you might be a bad person for your love of chaos and mess, basically.
Oh, no, that's a feature, not a bug.
Yes, in Jarrett 2K23, yes, that is a feature. Let's see. Other news this morning from Jonathan Tannewald. Andre Blake's groin injury is less serious than feared, a source says, according to his investigation at the Inquirer. So what that means, once again, probably means it's not 6 to 8, but it's still going to be Bendick face. Hashtag Bendick face in leg 2 in Champions League for Philadelphia Union. So you will be able to see Bendick face. There we go. Coco. Chaos and mess. We are a CONCACAF nation, sir. It's absolutely a feature.
Yeah,
it is absolutely a feature. So you've got that this morning from our friends at Violette and our friends at CONCACAF. So that's your opening kickoff. Brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee, kickoffcoffeeco.com. Once again, for those of you watching on Twitch, that's your QR code. And once again, use the code soccer down here 15 to get 15% off your purchase. But then they in turn take 10% reinvested into the youth game with our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. So really looking forward to the intrigue of the second legs, especially with Violette and Austin. So that's going to be fun. That's going to be fun. Rob Harris from our friends at Sky. And I guess it kind of qualifies as let's see, when was this published? 5:40 this morning. So, 12:40. Yeah, no, 7:40 this morning. So it's an hour and a half ago. All right. So see, this is what happens when I'm doing math and I'm going in two directions.
Please don't do math.
No.
Sign up for that.
No, you're absolutely correct. That's the idea. So
we don't have the appropriate content warnings on this show.
No, we do not. And so since
we have the content warnings for me and Bart when we decide to go all the way out of pocket.
Yes.
We don't have those kind of content warnings though.
Yes, David, we will be getting into the greater meltdown of U.S. soccer. That is definitely on the board this morning.
Buddy.
Yeah, but because this is an hour and a half old, it gives me an excuse to play this.
Love the tracking audio so much. I love that. I love everything about it sounding like a VHS. It's like me plugging in a VHS copy of Chippendale Rescue Rangers as a 6-year-old again.
Yeah. So that's what happens when you find the old breaking news music for a network that no longer uses it. And that's the beauty of fair use on YouTube. So Rob Harris, from our friends at Sky, FIFA is set to approve an expansion of the Men's World Cup from 64 to 104 matches. And rather than the 80 originally planned for 2026, due to come at the meeting of FIFA in Kigali, Rwanda. So we've got that this morning. FIFA had already agreed to enlarge the tournament from 32 to 48 teams. Rather than having 16 groups of 3, thank the baby Jesus and all the other Jesuses, FIFA will have 12 groups of 4. Why would you want to have 16 groups of 3? Seriously. So instead
someone convinced them there was more money in it.
Yeah. So
that's pretty much it.
You're going to go, it's going to be, oh gosh. It's going to
Someone pointed at a bottom line and was like, you'll get more money if you do it this way.
Yes. So it's going to be 12 groups of 4. Combined number of rest and release and tournament days is the same as the 3 previous World Cups, 2010, 2014, 2018. It's 56 days. Top 2 teams advance. Tell me if you've heard this before. In groups of 4, the top 2 teams will advance to a round of 32. Teams reaching the final will now have to play 8 rather than 7, played in the last tournament with the 2 finalists that were there. Finals in the United States due to be on Sunday, July 19th, 2026. So, so you've got all of these things that are happening, but merciful Jesus, it's 12-4, not 16-3 for the 2026 game. So you've got that. Goodness gracious, it's like, hey, you got 40 more matches, and so all you got to do is just play one more. So that's what it's looking like, folks. So that's your rundown of what's going to happen in 2026. Teams get to play one more match if you make it out of group stage and get to find out what's going on. So we'll keep an eye on what's going on in Rwanda. It also appears that Gianni Infantino is going to be renewed, reelected, reappointed, revoted, whatever words you want to use. But yeah, he's going to keep his gig, and that's going to be voted in Rwanda on Thursday. So we'll keep an eye on that as well. But not a surprise. Yeah, 8 of the 12 third-place teams going through as well. So Ricky adding that into the mix, and that gives you that additional match that folks are talking about. No, I mean, Tofka, literally, we just got into it and talked about Rob Harris. And we broke it down. Basically, instead of doing 16-3, it's 12-4. You play one more match because 8 of the 12 third-place teams are going through. And you're going to have 40 more matches that are going to be a part of it. But no, it is basically dropping to our knees with our palms raised to the heavens going, oh, my God, logic stuck with you, and going 12-4 instead of 16-3. So literally that was what we were talking about. So and Ricky, this is not going to happen. Ricky, Johnny need to go. The only place he's going is back to work. Bottom line, that's the only place he's going. Back to work. And when you
my greatest fear is the understanding that Johnny Infantino sucks. Sepp Blatter sucked. Whoever comes after Johnny isn't gonna be any better.
No. He will be an individual. He or she will be an individual that understands the room and understands what's best for business. This is very Vince McMahon-like. Is what's best for business, and you will not take the train off the track. Yeah, yeah. So, better for the lower countries from David's perspective. They at least get 3 games versus 2 and done. And I don't know. Kefsey, I don't know if anyone has referred to Gianni Infantino as the baby. Obviously, with the last name, being what it is. So, no, I do not know if anyone has ever referred to Gianni Infantino as the baby. Yeah, and so, yes, Tofka. So the easy solution right there and obvious. Yeah, 12-4. You just get the one more game with the 8 teams going through out of the 12 groups. They went with the stupid option of the better 14 groups idea. Then Tofka has been traditionally a very, very busy individual and trying to come up with ways for soccer to continue to soccer and not be influenced by outside influences as much as they are. So if you want to get into discussions about tournament sizes, group sizes, league sizes, and continuing to work with perspectives of the game, follow Tofka on the Twitters and get into discussions with Tofka about these kinds of things. But yeah, Tofka, as soon as they went 16-3, Tofka got lit up. I mean, and he was not a happy man. So there you go. According to the Super League documentary, Gianni's other alias is W01. I guess instead of individual one, he's W01. I need to see the Super League documentary. Sorry, Super League. I need to see the Super League documentary and see what's going on there. But yeah, so that's your rundown. It's gonna be 64 matches to 104, and it's somewhat of an expansion from the tournament that we had last time out in the country that I'm not going to name. So there you go. So tournament gets enlarged, and matches get enlarged. FIFA makes more money or can charge more money for your rights holders, who probably aren't going to change all that much because they're all enjoying each other's company. So I do not anticipate rights holders changing a whole heck of a lot coming to 2026 and 2030. And keep an eye on Saudi Arabia in 2030 when it comes to hosting the tournament. So that's your rundown of everything that is happening so far in the meetings in Kigali, Rwanda, where everyone is trying to figure out what's best for business, and they're doing that. Now, the top 2 and the 8 best third-place teams go to the round of 32. Finalists play 8 instead of 7. Final is July 19, 2026. So that's your numbers of everything going on there. Tariq Panja's got an article out. Your required reading, if you have these kinds of things, is to look at that article. Our friends at Yosemar Football have come out with another article. They found evidence that the Isle of Man company, which provides UK gambling licenses to Asian betting partners to Premier League clubs, is intimately linked with Alvin Chow, who was recently jailed for 18 years. So our friends at Yosemar Football do some tremendous investigative work, and they have been going down the gambling rabbit hole when it comes to the Premier League sides, and this is their newest thing. So go ahead and dial up Yosemar Football and read that story if you are so inclined. Continuing to push that story down the ladder a little bit. Yeah, Coco, more party in the USA. Absolutely. And Tom may not be far from the truth. Tom is assuming that they are actually meeting in Rwanda to lessen the chances of people showing up to protest them. That could very well be true. Big hit to Messi and the MLS party. Messi's taken multiple trips to Saudi Arabia as an ambassador for the region instead of more trips to Miami. But yeah, I mean, you saw how, they Saudi Arabia 2030, Saudi 2030 wanted to sign both CR37 and Messi as ambassadors, and they're doing that. Ricky, rumor asking for $600 million for Messi to wander over to this particular part of the world, and how much of a percentage of the team he will own. So it's kind of Beckham-ish, but not quite Beckham-ish. Since I know we're going to be spending a boatload of time on that particular paper, Alex brought this to the fore, so I'm gonna put this in here this morning. The football, there's been a ban to the fan who racially abused Ivan Toney at Brentford. Suspended sentence handed to Antonio Neal, who's also banned from all football stadia for 3 years, and it's listed by the Premier League as a landmark ruling. So, here's the article from the Premier League that discusses what's going on. This is their words. We'll get into our words coming up in short order. A landmark ruling has banned a 24-year-old man from every stadium in the country for racially abusing the Brentford striker Ivan Toney on social media. Sidebar. I'd love to know how you're going to enforce it. Antonio Neal sent an abusive message to Toney on 14 October. 10/14/22 was when the message was sent. 3/14/23 is when we're having this announcement, which the player shared publicly with the public via his account. The Premier League, working with the club, player, and the police, investigated the message, which was treated as a hate crime and was traced to a suspect in the North Shields area of UK. Neal pleaded guilty to sending an offensive message when he appeared before magistrates in Newcastle on 25 January, and on Monday was handed a 4-month jail sentence, suspended for 2 years for the online offense, as well as a 3-year football banning order, the first of its kind to be issued under the Police Crime Sentencing and Courts Act 2022. The legislation widened the scope for banning orders to be issued for online hate crimes relating to a person with a prescribed connection to a football organization. Superintendent Scott Cowie, hate crime lead for the Northumbria Police, said, quote, discrimination is absolutely no place in any society, whether out in our communities or online. I am therefore delighted that the seriousness of Neal's offense has been reflected with this banning order, the first of its kind to be issued in the UK. I hope this reinforces our commitment to taking action against anybody who commits a hate crime. It will not be tolerated, and we will do all we can to put perpetrators before the courts. I would like to thank everyone who played the part in this particular case, including the team of officers who worked tirelessly to secure justice, as well as our colleagues at the Metropolitan Police, the UK Footballing Police Unit, and the Premier League, end quote. Brentford welcomed the resolution of the case. They have 2, 3, 4 sentences. And then the order forbids Neil from attending any regulated football match in the UK, which includes Premier League, Championship, League One, League Two, National League fixtures, as well as England home internationals. The banning order also prevents him from traveling abroad to watch international friendlies, qualification matches, and tournaments. Premier League spokespersons had a quote for a sentence talking about racism not be tolerated in any form by the Premier League. All right, so that took up a page on the Premier League's website. Glad you did it. Like I said, that's just me. Glad you did it. Tom, I think pretty much is online with what all of us are thinking. But why 3 years? Will he suddenly no longer be a racist after that? And I know, Alex, due process, 5-6 months. Yeah, should be a lifetime ban. Absolutely should be a lifetime ban. Right there with you, Tom. Should be a lifetime ban for jokers like this, and I'm going to go ahead and say that. Jokers like this that think that you legitimately can just sit there and be a keyboard warrior, Jarrett, run your mouth through the tips of your fingers, sit there and say something like you said to Ivan Toney for Brentford, and then you get a 3-year ban? A 3-year ban. Not a lifetime ban for doing something this heinous, but a 3-year ban. The message, you sit there, you've got a chance to send a message, and the message is 3 years. My biggest thing in this, Jared, is how in the ish are you going to enforce? How are you going to enforce this in the 92 venues plus the National League? So whatever, 150 venues. How are you going to enforce this, especially in the lower division?
I would have to default to somebody who understands how ticketing works in the UK, because are they using face scans upon entry? Do they check IDs upon entry? I mean, because if you're saying like, hey, he can't buy a ticket, he can't buy a ticket online, that sort of thing. Like I don't know. Like, I mean, but can he walk up to the gate and buy one? So I don't know. I don't know how you enforce it exactly. I'd be interested to hear what their what their game plan is, because I don't know how it works in the UK with ticketing.
Mm-hmm.
No, there you go.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Is like, all right, so now
they might have a plan in place.
Great, I'd love to know what it is. How are you going to enforce this? And the mere fact, and Tom, you once again, I mean, you're spot on, at least where I'm concerned. This should be a lifetime ban. You said what you said on social media. You get 3 years. 3. You run your mouth through the tips of your fingers. You sit there and you say things to Ivan Toney that are reprehensible, and you get a 3-year ban. Just 3 years. You're sending, to me, it's like you had the chance to send a message, yet you kind of just like, 3 years. Okay, let's do that. That you're going to, like, as Tom says, you're suddenly going to be less of a racist after 3 years. No, I don't think that's the case. Michael Head, been to several matches in London, just like here. No checking of IDs.
No, so there you go. Like, I don't know how you enforce it.
Mm-hmm. What are you going to put like they do in the post office? You get the piece of paper on the wall with like the 10 most wanted, and you sit there and you have to sit there and go for like facial. You sit there and have the security yellow jacket sit there and look at it and go, you look familiar. Are you going to post this dude's picture at every gate in every venue on a laminated piece of paper saying, okay, this is the guy. You can't let this guy in. I mean, he could be like Bobby Valentine that one time when he got tossed and come out there with the glasses and the fake mustache and get into a Premier League game. I mean, but it's like you had a chance to do something here, and unless you get James Dolan's facial recognition technology that he's got at Madison Square Garden to keep fans who were running their mouths against his beloved Knicks. I don't know how you enforce this. I really don't. It's like, no, you can't come in here. Well, make me. Well, you have your picture. You have your picture at this gate. You got my picture at this gate. You got my picture at this gate. You had your chance, Premier League. You really did. Like I said, but to Jarrett's point and to everyone's point in the Twitch pitch this morning, how in the blue hell are you going to enforce this? I'd like to know. I mean,
because so often in life, it's not about it's not about the actual punishment so much as the about it looking like an actual punishment.
Yeah.
There's a difference.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a stark difference at times that you get in situations like these where it's, you can sit there and tell me that you want to, lay down a punishment, and you can try and lay down a super stark punishment, but how it looks like a super intense punishment, it's kind of tough to figure it out, because if you're doing it just to look tough without actually being tough, then you've accomplished pretty much nothing other than a good news cycle. Which in the era of literally news cycles are updated almost by the second at this point, doesn't buy you as much time as it did in the 1970s, bud.
No, it does not. And like I said, I mean, I'm sure the Premier League sits there and goes, we've got a way to make this happen. We've got a way to, we're going to enforce this. We're going to find a way. Do we need
it's not even about, and to some of the questions, like, for me, it's not even about like the idea of the enforcement of like, it's you made it sound so scorched earth just for to make a statement about it. But if you can't do anything or enforce it or that sort of thing, then what's the point? Like,
I
don't know. Anyway,
I mean, that's, so you've got that. You were close. Premier, and like I said,
you're attempting to look tough without necessarily having a plan to be tough.
Yeah.
So whatever.
Yeah, and that's what we're staring at here. So, so Premier League, you're close. But if you've got a plan, I think we'd all like to know what the plan is. Unless you want to sit there and think it like some super secretive kind of thing where, no, we've got our ways to enforce it, and we just trust us here. We've got our ways. They're secretive, and everything's cool. We got it figured out. So, Premier League, you were close. You were absolutely close. So we'll see what happens here. What do I want done, Alex? I want a lifetime ban, and I want it.
But how do you enforce it?
That's the larger question, and
so,
that is
so ask. But we gotta. Then we're asking for something that we can't enforce, and we're back to square one of, you want to enforce it, but if you don't have a way to enforce it, then it's just blowing smoke, which is what we've been doing anyway.
Yes. So, and it's sounding tough. I want to see you sound tough and act tough. That's what I want.
You got to figure out a way to do it. You got to figure out a way to make it act tough. Then.
Yeah, exactly right.
I don't know how you do that.
Yeah, that's the larger point. Coco, news cycle's not even hourly at this point, especially in the U.S. Don't know about cycles in the U.K., but I can't imagine this will get more than one headline on a "Did you hear about this" type segment. I hope it's more than that. But, I mean, and when you have news organizations that run 24-hour news cycles, it's going to get a little more play. But, enforcement. Enforcement for me is to sit there where I'm going to sit here and puff out my chest and go, and Nick's, I love the idea about branding him a certain way, just so everybody knows who it is. Yeah, and Alex's fan ID is used in places in Italy, much to the chagrin of the ultras. Yeah, so when an ultra tries to set something on fire in the stands, you're going to know who it is. At least fan ID is at least one way to figure it out in other countries. A couple of pieces of news out of Major League Soccer. Good news for Atlanta United. Caleb Wiley, Miles Robinson. Yeah. But once again, as we all know, and God bless you for it, when there's an Atlanta United player up for an award, you know that player is going to get the award. So great for Caleb. I think Caleb was the 6th youngest player to be player of the week or player of the match or player of the match day or whatever the proper terminology is these days that they've given this particular year to the player of the week. Player of the match day, Caleb Wiley. Damn well better have been. But once again, 17, you stepped up and you reinforced the fact that it should have been Caleb for what he did. 2 goals and an assist in the 3-0 crushing of Charlotte. And that's true. Yeah, really? Knicks, the only way an Atlanta United player isn't going to win an internet vote is if you don't put one in there. Absolutely true. So, yeah.
And then they might just go for former Atlanta United players. I fully expect John Gallagher to win that one.
Yes, absolutely true. I mean, John Gallagher would be – could you imagine John Gallagher being a part of something like that? I think that would be pretty damn funny, personally.
I would be infinitely amused if John Gallagher wins wins like goal of the week, because at that point you just have like a bunch of Atlanta United fans deciding, hey, he won. Hey, he played for us, so let's just pick him.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. All right. I think we've wasted enough time because
I have to leave in 10 minutes. So yeah, we have wasted enough time.
Yeah. So, all right, we've got to get into the paper and get into all of the stuff, and there's a lot to get into. And so for the final 10 minutes of Jarrett, I'm going to let just Jarrett go ahead and start his thoughts, and then we will continue to work in behind. I will go ahead and tip my hat to the Twitch pitch and go ahead. The tape has been removed from the starting line. The starter's pistol is in the air. Go for it. Let us know what you have to say about the release of the paper and the investigation yesterday involving Greg Berhalter and the Reynas.
Reynas are persona non grata. What else? The ultimate thesis is they have to be persona non grata going forward. Not just for this, but apparently like for treatment this kind of feels like the icing on the cake. Yeah, the whole treatment that's been going on that was reported in that paper for an extended period of time, it feels like they have to be persona non grata with U.S. Soccer.
Yeah,
they can't, especially Papa Reina can't. I don't want him working in U.S. Soccer, and not even just like U.S. Soccer. I don't want him working at any level in the United States soccer.
Yeah,
go work in another industry.
Well, but what other industry is going to take someone and Danielle Reyna?
Private sector outside of the sport of soccer.
Yeah.
Hey,
but
that
guy?
That's a you problem.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm not responsible for the consequences of your actions.
Yeah. And
I tell you who I do feel bad for Gio Reyna. The conversation, the argument that came out of it yesterday really did aggravate me. The idea of like, well, Gio, how guilty he is in this or otherwise. I'm like, look, yeah, Gio's 20, or 21 now, something like that.
Yeah.
If this is what he's grown up around, pieces fall into place pretty quickly in that sense. Yeah. If that's what he grew up around, if that's how his parents operated, if that's what he grew up and how his life went and what he was used to, and that treatment is what he was used to growing up, and how you treat other people, and how everything was handed to him because mom and dad were out there making stuff happen.
Yeah.
Then a lot of the stuff about Gio Reyna makes a lot more sense. And I do feel sorry for him in that sense, because you are 2 degrees product of your environment.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it is upon him as a person who is now crossed into adulthood to recognize and make those changes. And for what it's worth, I feel like we didn't talk about this much yesterday. It sounds like he was willing to do that at the national team training center during the World Cup when, according to Berhalter, they brought him in for a come to Jesus meeting, told him, you got to straighten up and fly right or we're sending you home. And he did. And he started working harder. He got on the field in the last game at the end, in the second half. it sounds like he took responsibility for what had happened early in the cycle, and that's awesome. Everything about like what he may or may not be in terms of his behaviors, man, a lot of it would make sense given what we learned yesterday in those documents. Good Lord. Man, there's a lot to unpack here, and a lot of it's bad. And just like where you're just sitting there, like trying to piece all of this together, and not only just piece it together, but lay it out in a cohesive format.
Good luck.
That, like, I cannot imagine the mental jump of, man, I want my kid to play more. I'm going to torpedo this 30-year relationship with my best friend by spilling tea that I have no business spilling.
Nope.
And then I'm going to put out a statement and like lead with the tragic loss of a child from 10 years ago as like the excuse for why I'm doing everything. And look,
buddy,
that's literally my worst nightmare, the idea of losing a child. I don't even want to pretend to comprehend the concept of it. But not unlike we said at the beginning, I can't. I'm not responsible for the consequences of your actions. And 10 years down the road, you torpedoing a 30-year-old relationship because you disagreed with a roster, that's a deeper issue than a 10-year-old tragedy. And I get it. You probably never get over that. I completely understand.
Nick Leafy, good morning.
I don't want to understand beyond
having
to look at it from the outside.
No.
But Jesus, I mean, just from the full details that we got from the U.S. soccer side all the way out to the opening of that statement, I'm just like, honestly, almost impressed how y'all did this.
Nick Leafy, good morning.
Cocaine is a hell of a drug.
Yeah, that's true.
My God. I'm just trying to figure out, is this whole thing Macbeth or is it Romeo and Juliet? I'm trying to figure out because I feel like Prince, we're sitting back like the Prince saying all are punished. And at the same time, this feels like, just the Reynas is, Macbeth mad that somehow they got passed over and now they're going to kill everyone they can to get to the top, and only to be taken out by their own stupidity in the end. I mean, come on, man. This is just this is not on Gio. Gio's a product of his environment. I agree with that. I have seen many situations where kids have grown up with incredibly trash parents. Unfortunately, trash kind of, the smell tends to cling and doesn't, dispatch easily. So, it's hard for me if with U.S. soccer, you want someone like Gio around because he's insanely talented, but at the same time, it's like, can we really get away from the BS of the Reynas? Like, how do we it's a question you have to ask because you want Gio on the field, but you are now going to have to put safeguards in place around, mom and dad psychopath. And so, we have grown up in this culture as have so many federations. This is not a challenge that is unique to U.S. soccer, but the corporate structure of U.S. soccer is very unique. Like the way that they essentially run it like they attempt to run it like a Fortune 500, and as we see, that's not necessarily a compliment. We have got to get away from these 90s soccer players. That whole group was a toxic disaster zone to begin with, and they are spreading their mess even today. We have to get the Reynas or the Lannisters. We have to get them out. We have to get the Berhalters. We have to get them out. We have to get all the goon squad needs to go. The goon squad needs to be out, and I'm tired of it. I'm tired of the pot shots being taken, by Winalda because Winalda is mad at it's trauma that was inflicted upon him, a long time ago. That sucks, bro. I feel bad for you, but your mouth and your idiocy have kept you from getting, your inability to keep quiet has kept your soccer genius from being able to make it to, the top levels of the game. We've seen what he can do, but the fact that this man can't keep his mouth shut is what keeps him on the side. You have Landon Donovan, who is quietly trying to do something out on the West Coast and dodge these bullets. McBride was getting involved in trying to keep the Reyna situation from going full Chernobyl, failed. You had Ernie Stewart, who was incredibly misguided in saying all of U.S. soccer is just going to be headquartered in Chicago, and either you're a part of it or you're not. In a country this big, bro, this ain't the Netherlands. I don't know what to tell you. This nation's big. You can't get all the talent to one place like that, so you set the program back some. But for him to go, I'm going to go back. I'm going to go back to the Netherlands. I'm getting out of this mess, and no, I want nothing to do with this. That tells you where this program is right now. There's talent. I'm not going to dispute that. I am not a U.S. men's national team fan. But I recognize talent when it's there. The coaching situation, Berhalter, I think, did an okay job, but, you can't ignore how he got appointed to the gig. The Reynas are clearly mommy dearest in athletic gear. No more wire hangers. And so, you know what, Alex, that's a conversation for another podcast. Sir, yeah, Alex is asking, why do you hate America, Nick? But, what we have here is we have a boys club that has been allowed to run rampant because they were surrounded by corporate suits who didn't know what they were doing, but they knew how to manage money. They knew how to manage partnerships and ad revenue, and they knew how to manage, agreements with athletic providers, but they didn't know how to do the ball side. So they said, oh, well, who can we bring in? Well, we can't get the Euros to come in because no, that's not going to help us out. Well, let's get this boys club in here and they'll make it work. So we got these guys who are essentially they are a group that was generally slandered in the media. I'm sorry, I'm 42 years old. I remember when the U.S. men's soccer team was like, and according to a small community, these little plucky upstarts, right? And then to a large other group, they were completely irrelevant. And to another group, they were never, ever, ever going to be good enough no matter what. And that harms the psyche of young players and young men. And, the women have had to deal with their own set of problems. I'm strictly talking about U.S. men's soccer. So there's always this feeling of inadequacy that I felt has just kind of orbited U.S. men's soccer for a long period of time. And you're seeing it play out now in front of everybody.
Yeah, Jared, I know you've got to go. So last word for you before you turn.
Oh, no. I'm going to hang a bit longer now because now I got first off, I got a little bit of bandwidth to hang on longer, but also kind of just want to listen.
Okay.
Kind of just want to listen now.
Okay. All right. So just send up a flare. Nick continues.
Yeah, there's a feeling of inadequacy here, and listen to any of these people talk. Whether it's Alexi Lalas doing his WWE heel gimmick, Winalda, Ernie Stewart, any of these guys, it was all born from, hey, we were really good players and we never got our respect. Look at Reyna, and the Reynas need to control everything that surrounds Gio. I understand the trauma that they are working through, and they're going to be working through it till the day they die, and it's unfortunate and it's terrible. they're, but the way that they have allowed this situation to play out, and one, their agent needs to be canned for trying to provide a statement in the Notes app. I'm sorry, that doesn't work. But you are going to have to rebuild the internal structure of U.S. soccer from the ground up. You're going to have to. Because Stewart tried running it like a club, and while that brought enough stability for you to do well in the World Cup, great. Are you any closer to winning a World Cup now than you were before? I don't know. There are people who would say yes based on raw talent. Okay, that's great, but you went out in sort of the same area where U.S. men's soccer almost always goes out. So that's debatable. You need to get new leadership. You need to get new governance. But you got to get this soap opera crap done, man. It's not going to work. The 90s boys need to step aside. It's not their time. And nor should their children be treated like these golden sacred cows who are allowed to be, little tyrants. And I don't know what to really say beyond that, man. The Reinas are trash. I'm sorry, they are. To do this on the biggest stage, even if Berhalter was appointed by his brother, even if there is, if Berhalter had a tendency to be out of his depth, even if Berhalter did not make the best roster selections, Berhalter was the manager at the World Cup trying to get the team as far as humanly possible. At no point did Berhalter any moment say, you know what, guys, I think it's just time for us to tank out of this thing. Let's just go ahead and scrap the whole mission and go home. Right? He did his best to win. And for mom and dad, to come in and hippo poop all over the U.S. men's national team vibe because my little boy's not playing. We're going to throw a temper tantrum. No. I would have put their asses on a plane and shipped them right back home, and you can take your little diaper dandy with you because you're not messing up my vibe. You're not going to come in here and disrupt my team because your kid is a generational talent. Get your kid's brain right and come back in here, and then by all means, ball out. But you can't come in at the biggest stage, at the biggest moment, and try to exert your influence. It's not your show. It's not your time. It's not your band. It's not your rhythm. It's not your backbeat. And to nuke that level of friendship it's the ultimate betrayal. It's the ultimate betrayal to drag this stuff out. Greg does not look great in any of this, but to make Greg Berhalter, who I have repeatedly called the human set of pleated khakis, make him, some sort of suffering hero here. Man, that is some serious work by the Reinas, man. My God. And this all goes back. The systemic failures happen, and I know I'm going on way too damn long, and I apologize for that. But if you have a kid in soccer right now who was between the age of 10 and 16, you are watching what happened with the Reinas play out every weekend. Every damn weekend. You have some coach who is underpaid, probably out of their depth on the sideline because no one else wants to invest the time to do it. And you have kids out there who are distracted by a great many things, who are just out there trying to play and have fun and win. And you have parents on the sidelines who are convinced that they have their A license, trying to out-coach the coach, who are trying to say, it's not like, hey, good job, or, hey, there's a defender on your right, or hey, there's an attacker coming straight at you. Nothing like that. I'm talking, yeah, exactly. Yeah, go, just get it out of there, get it out, kick it away. And the coach is like, hey guys, I'm trying to teach the kids to play under pressure and pass out of the back and break the press and just get it out. What am I supposed to do? And so you see this play out, and they say, well, I'm pulling my kid out. I'm going to get out and my kid's going to go to another program because this coach doesn't know what he's doing. Every weekend this plays out. Every weekend this plays out. And this is something that has to be, and it's not going anywhere, but this is something on parents. This is bigger. This is more than just the Reynas. They're just the most popular name at the moment. It's big because it's the Berhalters. It's big because it's the dynasty of U.S. soccer. But this crap right here is and yes, Bart says not to the middle has been my favorite in recent years because building out of the back requires you to pass it to the player in the middle of the field. He's right. And look, Bart is a ref who we've seen time and time again, be subject to, again, these imaginary A-license coaches on the sidelines that are more gifted in doing Excel spreadsheets than they are being supportive of their kids. Just trashing the coach to the kids, trashing the coach in front of the coach, trashing the program, trashing the style of play. This is only big now because it's the Reynas, okay? And this is something that soccer parents need to really start looking at themselves with and figure out a way to not be so damn toxic. And that solution will not be found on this show today.
All right.
But we are going to have a lot of fun making fun of the Reynas, though.
Yeah. All right. So the report, 3 months of Alston and Bird, concluded Greg Berhalter had not committed any additional acts of violence against his now wife since 1992, had not violated any disclosure rules during his hiring process, previously admitted to kicking her while they were dating as students at the University of North Carolina. With that finding, the U.S. Soccer Federation, once again, Stephen Goff of the Washington Post. With that finding, the U.S. Soccer Federation said Berhalter would remain a candidate to return as coach. His contract expired December 31st. Quote, given the investigators' conclusion that there is no legal impediment to employing him, Greg Berhalter remains a candidate to serve as head coach. Jarrett Smith, the U.S. Soccer Federation, said that in a statement. Obviously, they're not going to hire a coach until they appoint a new sporting director. Anthony Hudson's currently your interim. Greg Berhalter is still a candidate, Jarrett. What say you about his realistic element of being renamed or nominated as head coach?
I mean, it makes sense that he would be a candidate because, okay, the guy you get, especially at this point of the cycle, might not be the guy you necessarily want, but he might be the best guy available for you right now. And if you think there are other guys, that's totally okay. I completely understand. It feels like he might just be what they're comfortable with at this point, which would be disappointing if they decide to settle for him. I don't hate the idea of him being a candidate as long as you don't settle for him. And to Nick's point from earlier, the manner in which he was made, the coach has to always be considered. The sense of nepotism that you got there, it's heavy, and it has to be considered in this conversation. It'll be interesting to see what he does though in the next stage. I have said now, I think other people have said it as well, I don't think it's a unique idea. Hey Greg, you know what you could do that wouldn't carry as much drama perhaps if you wanted to dip out and not do this? It's a team in North Carolina with a coach who looks like he's in over his head. You want to lay low for a little bit, not do the national team job, and wait for Latanzio to get fired in Charlotte. Greg would be an interesting hire in Charlotte.
Your new head coach of Charlotte FC, Nick Alifi, Greg Berhalter.
I think Greg's a better club coach.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I think Jarrett nailed it. And to take over a program like Charlotte would allow him time in a situation that's not the best. Obviously, they have some, significant emotional and physical challenges that and really mental challenges they're working through as well at the moment. And it would allow him to sort of blend into the background for a bit, quietly go about his work. And if Charlotte turns into a bit of a problem because Berhalter does the good job here, then it's great for him. But let me tell you the real reason why they have publicly listed him as still remaining a candidate for renewal.
You have to legally, don't you?
It is 2 words, baby: billable hours. Mm-hmm. The last thing you want is for you to say, "Hey, look, we are not remotely interested in bringing Berhalter back. Thank you for your service. Wish you the best in your future endeavors."
Yeah.
Berhalter's agent will immediately come out and say, "We have acquired legal counsel and we are going after the Reynas, we're going after U.S. Soccer," and whether or not he gets boo from any of them, that's press and ink you don't want spilled. It was something that could have been easily avoided by just saying, "Yep, he's still a candidate." Even if internally you put your hand over the mic and shake your head to your next door neighbor going, "No, he's not." But I agree completely. I think Charlotte's a great option for him. I think it's something that needs to be considered by Berhalter and really his family to say, "Look, let's get out. We don't need this heat in our lives, baby. Let's just dip back down to MLS. We'll chill out for a bit and let some schmo come in, fail miserably, and then see if that call comes back from U.S. Soccer." But here's my hot take for the show. I don't know if this is a good job right now. Who the hell is your technical director? Who the hell is going to be the organization that gets built up to support the team? Who's going to do that? And what role are the corporate suits going to be playing in this? I feel like it's Vince McMahon back in creative again. Like we would see the same thing over and over again because the machinery surrounding the team is not changing. The players may move, but if you keep hiring people that have this sense of inadequacy about themselves, then why? Like, who wants that? As a manager, I need to be supported by an organization. I need to be told that I have full faith and trust to pick my players, to pick my style of play, to make tough decisions when I have to. And if that means that a family who think they're the first family of American soccer, the Reynas, end up getting pissy and flipping out and pooping themselves on national television, that's their problem, not mine, because they can have a Coke and a smile and deal with it. And if you don't have that support as a manager, you don't want that job. So I think dipping out to MLS right now would be the greatest thing for Berhalter. Fall on your sword, be the hero, and just say, I appreciate the time I had with U.S. Soccer. I'm extraordinarily proud of the efforts that we had to qualify. Make sure you put that in all caps. Qualify for the World Cup. Go as far as we did. We had a great time. I love this team. I love all of these players. And I'm looking forward to doing great things with Charlotte. End statement right there. Walk off into the sunset. Make it like The Searchers. Make it like the end of the John Ford epic, The Searchers, where John Wayne is standing outside the door and turns around and walks off into the sunset. That's what you need.
All right, so I'll go ahead and post Bart's comment. Bart is getting warmed up for 10:30 tomorrow morning when he
Let's
drives.
go.
But Bart says this: Nick, that's the problem we have right now for sporting director, GM, and head coach. I don't think a lot of the good candidates the fans want match the actual duties of Fed sporting director. So we're finding people who don't have the clout people recognize. These are not big jobs in the grand scheme of things. So we're likely going to get someone who played for the Fed or has ties to soccer in the United States. But we'll talk about it with a wink. So these hires, you have to get right. The World Cup is coming to your doorstep and it's coming into your house.
Yes.
They're going to sit on your sofa in your living room for the next cycle. You have to get this right. You absolutely have to get this right from the top down.
Mm-hmm. And Jason, I can feel Jason. He's gearing up. He's saying, "No, don't say it, Nick. Don't say it, Nick. Don't. I'm going to say it, Jason." Yeah. I'm going to say Jesse Marsch is who you got to get. Jesse Marsh is who you got, and here's why: it's Marsh or Curtin, and I can't stand Jim Curtin. I don't like the way he plays. I don't like the way that his team essentially turns everything into murder ball. I don't know if that would work on the national stage, but you need a coach who is so desperately devoted to their system that they will issue middle fingers to anyone who tries to upset the apple cart. And unless you're going to go get Bielsa, that's what you have to do. And you can't get Bielsa because Bielsa is El Loco and will tolerate zero management from above. But at least Marsh and Curtin understand the monster they have to deal with. But they are so hopelessly devoted to their system that they will issue middle fingers to anyone trying to upset it. So I think that's who you have to get. And I don't like it. I think that it's a step backwards, but you need stability and certainty as much as possible with the World Cup coming to your doorstep. And you can't have anyone who comes in who, as Bart made an excellent point, does not have the cachet to be able to push back against the powers that be. And you're not going to get, Winalda's going to lobby and complain and moan. And after the Open Cup run with Cal FC, I think it's mind-bending to me that a man's mouth is so toxic that he can't engineer his way into a good job. But who else is coming?
Let me let me ask you this: since you've gone down this road,
yeah,
you legitimately think that, and Jim Curtin has said publicly that he would be more than happy to jump and go in to a U.S. national team position, even if it was an assistant. But you think that Jesse Marsh is so locked into his system that with the individuals that are currently active for the men's national team, that Marsh would not adapt to their skill sets and not the other way around?
No, Marsh is a true Rangnick believer, and so Ralph Rangnick is in when you look at the gegenpressing and all the counter pressing and everything that's been happening, Ralph Rangnick has a if you listen to any remote coaching session, Q&A, interview time, anytime there's been a microphone in front of Rangnick or any of his devout disciples, their conversation goes the exact same way every time, book and verse, which is, this is what we do when we don't have the ball. This is what we do when we do have the ball. It is vertical, incisive passing. Horizontal's not good. Backwards is even worse. And it's only to be done when something is going terribly wrong. Other than that, you get the ball and you are immediately launching forward. They would not, and in some ways it would make sense because you have so many players who are, U.S. players who end up in those kinds of systems. So I think that it would, if anything, it would broaden your player pool a bit. The quality may have a significant drop off in some areas, but in the end, you would have a player pool that would be, a little bit deeper, not as good, but had opportunity to grow. But no, there's not going to be any flexibility, in my opinion, from Marsh if he's the selection. Curtin, I think, is a different animal. I think he plays murder ball because he feels like he has to. Again, Emilio, I'm with you, baby. Emilio says, do we have to display the world of curtain ball? It would certainly show the world our athletic talent in a negative light. Yeah, I cannot stand the way Curtin plays. But when you don't have the leadership necessary, like when you talk about the great possession teams of all time, right? So we'll go Ajax, Barcelona. You have the Spanish national team. The Spanish national team was underperforming for decades until they ended up getting those monster Barcelona teams and the monster Real Madrid teams, right? So you had the proof in the pudding of what the old school Ajax education, La Masia, and they said, okay, we have this way of doing things. If you don't like it, get out, get out. Look, and that could, and it worked, right? But they had enough strength and belief in their system, and enough people who saw the opportunity for success using this system to get complete buy-in across the federation. The U.S. does not have that. The U.S. is still having this kind of crazy conversation about what's our style, what's our culture. America, and this is going to sound like some kind of jingoistic rant, it's fast, it's furious, it's violent, and it's corporate. And you need something that fits into that. And Rangnick ball fits into that. Curtain ball fits into that, and there is no La Masia here in the United States. There's not, because we don't have the patience for it. And Ajax is only Ajax because they were able to exist for a period of time in an incubator to build that system up, and even it's gone through some changes. If you go from from the old golden days of total football to the more mechanized version that you saw later on, right? So the U.S., I think, would embrace that. It's a largely Protestant nation. We've had the conversation before, philosophy down here, about how there have been papers and books dedicated to sort of the religious, desires of a particular team and a style of play, and how some Catholic nations play one way and Protestant nations play another way. And, Coco says there's a reason why the Ajax disciples don't work anywhere else. And I think this is something that gets really, overlooked, is that it's communication. When Frank de Boer said it takes about 9 months to teach the Ajax system, he messed up there because he was missing the fact that children from the first time they can kick a ball in the Ajax Academy are learning one way to play. And so, yes, we can make tweaks and adjustments and shifts to that system, but we can make it more mechanized, more free-flowing. But to take that and to pass it on to another organization is extraordinarily difficult. And Eric Ten Hag, I think, has found that. I think he's found that, I think there have been maybe one or two other coaches who have found a way to make that happen. But largely it hasn't really worked. And because the teams aren't, and the federations, the organizations aren't patient enough to install it and allow that growth and the lumps and the losses to take place. America doesn't have time for that. They don't want to deal with it. It's curtain or it's marsh because of that. Because we as a nation are too impatient to deal with loss and learning. And that's the sad part. That's why the U.S., that's the real hot take. The U.S. is not going to advance because we are not willing to take loss and learning period to get to where we need to be. Instead, and this is generally, culturally, overall, and instead just say, nope, plow through, motor down. And if you want, that's your culture, then you need a system that reflects that. It's Rangnick ball, it's marsh, and it's curtain, and which is sad to me, but.
All right. So then, Jarrett, with those names posed to the floor by Nicolifi, I mean, this is something, once again, and the point was made in the first hour, that these three hires, sporting director, GM, head coach, they've got to be right. As you are looking at this situation, who would you bring it? Obviously, head coach isn't going to be named until sporting director is named, and then you work it that way. But looking at it from just the perspective of head coach, I mean, philosophically, what have you, who are you looking at to be the coach? Do you bring in someone? Do you keep Anthony Hudson for a while so the landscape kind of evens itself out and you figure out what's going on, since these until you get into Gold Cup, Copa America, etc., 23 may not be a whole lot. Do you keep Anthony Hudson for a while? Who do you bring in? Who are you looking at to bring in as head coach for all of this, Garrett?
Well, remember, 26 doesn't really matter for qualifying sake. You want to be sharp at the tournament, you're hosting it. You don't have to qualify. You don't have to go through the octagon.
Right.
Coincidentally, if you wanted to go with some of these Ragnick acolytes, that would be the time to do it because, as we always ask the question, if you're pressing and the team you're playing doesn't want the ball, what are you going to do about that? Well, if you're not as worried about going through the lower parts of CONCACAF, then maybe you do that and maybe you get into a situation where you're just getting out of the group and then being able to go against some more possession-based teams and then knocking around, that sort of thing. If you wanted to go down that road, I don't necessarily want to go down that road, and I appreciate Nick trying to raise Jason's blood pressure every day of the year.
Yes.
It is an art form. But, yeah,
And I mean,
go down that road.
Yeah.
If you want me to get I can get real unrealistic with you real quick and give you your name.
Sure.
It's not going to happen. I know it's not going to happen. Don't at me. Ange Postecoglou. If for no other reason, the man went into Glasgow into a very stuffy, rigid, old boys clubs, really stuck in their ways environment, and turned things around very quickly. And I think he has the right personality to deal with bureaucratic, red tape, old boys club. Doesn't necessarily fit into that, but still able to get stuff done in it. And I think it's a unique skill set. There are other managers like that. That's just the one off the top of my head because he plays very exciting style.
No doubt. And Coco, to the point, Hudson should be kept until a sporting director is named. Absolutely. No, I think that Coco, I think you're spot on there. That Anthony Hudson, it has to, Anthony Hudson's there. Okay, great, fine. You've got the substitute teacher, and he's going to be there until, until your homeroom teacher is back from, maternity leave or what have you, whatever absence you want to remember from elementary school. Anthony Hudson is your substitute teacher until further notice. That's fine.
Fine with that. No problem with that at all. Like I said, though, I'm going to need somebody, whoever it might be, who's going to be able to deal with the absolute stupidity that is U.S. soccer, because I don't think that stupidity is going away anytime soon. So someone's got to be able to actually deal with their nonsense on a daily basis and be able to get results and be able to compartmentalize all of the stupidity that U.S. soccer has just warmly embraced, like the giant snake in Anaconda wrapping up John Boyd.
Yeah, yes. One of the more justifying, one of the more enjoyable death scenes I found.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, put that out there. But look, Jose Mourinho could do it. I think he's past his prime, way past his prime. But he has the gravitas.
Then why would you do that if he's way past his prime?
Because again, to Jarrett's point, there is a poo-flinging show taking place in U.S. soccer that is not going anywhere. If you bring in the old boys network, it's just going to continue. You need someone who can come in and say, I don't care. Well, what about this? I don't care. I've won Champions Leagues. Do you think I give one rat's flipping butt about anything Claudio Reyna has to say? No. You have to have someone who's perfectly okay saying no, shrugging the shoulders and walking away. And I think that person would be Jose Mourinho. And he's at a point in his career when a national team job would probably be beneficial to him.
Yeah.
He could grind out the 1-0 win if needed.
Not care.
And not care. You're not going to win pretty. You're not going to win in exciting fashion. But he's someone who could do a lot of what we were talking about with compartmentalization and being a big enough personality to sort of outshine the 90s U.S. national team vets. So it's I know, Michael. I know. Michael says he's a CFC fan.
Scarred.
Please no, Jose. Please, God, no. It's you have to have, but it falls into the same category as what I talked about with the Rangnick people. Make sure that you have someone with a personality or belief in system that is so concrete that they can tell everyone else where to go and what horse to ride in on. There aren't a ton of people in the U.S. poll who are able to do that. I think Brian Schmetzer would be my personal favorite to be hired. I don't know if he's going to leave the warmth and coziness of Seattle
That's
that.
The larger question.
Right.
Or leave.
Right.
The hilarious part of this is that if this had happened 5 years ago and we were having this conversation with the last staff, we probably at some point would have gone, you know what? Greg Berhalter's had a good, solid run in Columbus, overachieving with a team that has a smaller budget. He seems like the kind of guy who's been a U.S. soccer lifer that we could give the national team over to and it'd be stable for a bit.
Yep. And that's the thing is and that's what's sort of sad about this is if it wasn't like Berhalter's brother pulling the trigger on this, if it was anyone else, if it was Sunil Gulati who and the other Berhalter wasn't even in the org and said, you know what? I think we're going to hire Greg Berhalter.
Just let Jack Warner announce it next time.
Right. I mean, like it could have been. People would have been like, wow, what an out-of-the-box hire. That's great. But because the brother's involved, it's, oh, no, there's nepotism. My God, it's so terrible. And, you know, that sort of tainted the tenure. So it's, unfortunately, we can't go back and change anything. But my God. I think you nailed that. And the other Berhalter not been involved, and we just had come out and said, "Hey, look, Greg Berhalter's going to do this." Wow, yes, exciting! Especially after Tata Martino, kind of praised Berhalter's game plan. Like I think it's been like, wow, okay, these guys can play. Okay, cool. But you're not getting, outside of Schmetzer, I know everybody likes to kind of cast an eye towards Sporting Kansas City. I don't think that one's happening.
Signed a 5-year deal, so
it's not
locked in.
No, Gio Savarese may be somebody who you want to consider, but then you're getting right back into the old way of doing
Gio
things.
Cut somebody though.
He would.
We would end up Gio would be gone, not for any reasons like on the field. Gio would be gone because somebody would have to have a conversation of, well, we appreciate Gio's time, but we can't have our head coach, knifing someone in the abdomen. Right.
I mean, how would you, now that you brought this up, I'll go ahead and ask, how do you think Gio Savarese would have responded to the Gio Reyna situation?
He would have put...
He would have sent him home.
Yeah, he would have. Yeah, Reyna would have been on a plane.
Yeah, in a heartbeat.
All of them, and they would have been flying in the undercarriage with like the chickens and like the random donkey.
Yeah, you know where Dave Chappelle's character ended up in Con Air? There.
Yeah.
Where Pinball was. They put him on. They put them in the. You can stay down there. Here's an O2 tank and a blanket.
Yep.
Make sure you're safe. But man, yeah, Gio would not. Other Gio Savarese would not have suffered fools, and Savarese would be a good one too because we've talked to Jason before about this. Aside from being a very intense but very good head coach, Savarese, I don't know if I've ever heard a crossword spoken about him. He did a lot of good work with the Cosmos. Like, he won with the Cosmos, and I get it, man. NASL was really top-heavy at that point. But even after everything folded, he took care of his own in New York on the way out the door.
Yes,
he made sure his people and the people who had impacted him and he had impacted were taken care of so they were not left twisting in the wind if they didn't go with him.
Mm-hmm.
To me, it says a lot about the man's character.
When you're that kind of individual, it most certainly does.
Well, Sam's asking would Thierry Henry be a good national team coach? He was an assistant on Belgium.
I mean, he just walked away from the Montreal job.
Yeah.
And maybe a national team job would be different because it wouldn't be a full-time thing. I mean, maybe. You know what? Hey, if he wasn't doing so damn well right now, go get Phil Neville.
Hey,
Phil Neville was. I didn't think Phil Neville did a bad job with the English women, and Phil Neville's getting stuff out of a Miami team that was kind of playing. They were playing with one. They were playing with a deck of 51 last year.
he benched the Hamburglar.
And the Hamburglar responded positively.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
The man had his finger on the pulse of that team in a way that, he put the armband on Gregory, told all the old famous guys to go have a seat, and they responded positively.
Yep. I don't
just hear Southgate go, speaking of which.
Yeah,
I feel like that
right?
needs to end. I feel like that needs to end for England. Not because Southgate's been bad. He's been good, but they need to change.
But it's again, so Bart says, okay, he's not a big fan of Savarese. Portland hasn't been good in years. Here's my thing though. If you want, and I know Thierry Henry's been chucked out there, and we've had Phil Neville, his name put out there, but who in the U.S. pool, like if you want an American manager, who in the pool is ready now? Because Schmetzer's ready. Marsh, I think, is ready.
It'd be Schmetzer, Marsh, and Curtin, wouldn't it?
That's the
Peter
three.
Vermes. And honestly, man, if you wanted to get weird and make because don't forget, Vermes is also the sporting director in Kansas City.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, true.
If you wanted to go to Peter Vermes and say, hey, man, you want to come to the national team? I don't want to coach the team. I'm not asking you to coach.
Yeah, we'll
I'm
have
asking you to oversee it. I'm going to get so much mileage out of that GIF.
You'll hand him the keys. You'll hand Vermes the keys to the whole thing.
But with Bart saying, personally, I don't want an American manager. I really like the Neville idea. This is, Bart, I love that you have just led right down the road where I wanted to go. Yes, dance, my puppets, dance. Okay,
Bart's sitting somewhere with his head in his hands.
There is a brain drain on American. Not even a brain drain. There's a lack of coaching in this country at that level. It's not there yet, and our best coaches are still getting walloped. Berhalter, who had been complimented for the way he played, his style of play by other managers, goes and gets shellacked by the Netherlands, right? Players getting out of position. Now, whether that was because they weren't listening to coaching or they were kind of, doing their own thing, I don't know. But it got shellacked. And it happens time and time and time and time again. So the question for the United States is the same one that is being asked of Mexico. It's the same one being asked of Belgium. It's the same one being asked of so many other countries. Do we need a fellow countryman leading our national team? Is it because in Italy, you're not getting a non-Italian to run the team. You're not. There would be riots in the streets. It's not happening.
But then how much of this would be Klinsmann hangover for answering that question?
That's the thing Klinsmann's a charlatan. Let's go ahead and get that out of the way.
True, but just under the notion.
It's South Korea's problem now.
Yeah, but just under the notion of bringing in someone who is a non-American to be your coach is the way that I'm trying to present this. It's not the overarching idea of Jurgen Klinsmann, but the notion of someone who is not an American coach.
But it depends on this. Klinsmann was hired to be a change agent. They didn't realize that they had hired a change agent, but a charlatan as a manager. And they found that out too late. But I think at this point, you have to look outside the U.S. pool. Who you go and get, I don't know. But you can't just limit yourself to say we will only hire an American or somebody who would have been eligible to play for the U.S. men's national team at some point in their life. I don't think you can do that anymore.
No. But I think to Bart's point, guys, I think that this is the thing. I think that American soccer fans, specifically going into 2026, when it is a home game, you want somebody who's going to win.
Yes.
You don't care who it is.
Yes.
You don't care what the passport says. You don't care what the birth certificate says. You want a dude that's going to take you to a semifinal with the talent that you've got in this country.
Correct. And Kefsey, I agree with you, by the way. Kefsey said it shouldn't be a conversation. It's fine to have an American and it's fine not to. What I'm pointing out is that there is an idea amongst many countries that you have to have one of your countrymen leading the national team. The U.S., we've listed off 3 or 4 managers who could probably passably do a decent role, a decent job. But are any of them getting the U.S. to the semifinals? I don't think so. Mm-hmm. So, it does warrant a conversation that, the U.S. being in the position it's in hosting a World Cup, it is Al Davis time. Co-signing with Ricky. It's Al Davis time. Just win, baby. That's what the U.S. men's national team needs to be focused on. Just win. Don't care how. Don't care who. It doesn't matter. Get a winner in here who wants to live in America and let them dictate their terms. Yep. Okay, I need to live in Miami. Congratulations. The new U.S. national team facility going to the World Cup is going to be in Miami. I need to live in Los Angeles. Congratulations. And wherever they want to go is where they go. Wherever they want to set up camp is where they set up camp.
Yeah.
And you keep the Reinas and everyone else at more than arm's length. You keep them behind the barrier, behind where the press is, and you lock them away. And so you have to find that manager. You got to get out of the box. You have to find someone who is capable of doing things at, even if it is a mercenary job, someone who's asking an arm and a leg, it doesn't matter. You just got to bring them in and get the job done. And I don't think you're going to do it with the current coaching pool. There are people who I would hire if you're tying yourselves to that. But my list is going to be very different if we're dropping borders.
Bart, will the special one get us to a semi? He thinks so if he lasts that long.
I mean, if everybody's healthy and develops, that's the thing as well, is when we look at the national team now, we can't look at it and say the team in 2023 is the team that will play in 26. No, it's 3 years down the line. Guys will continue to develop. Guys might stall out. Other guys might hit jumps you didn't expect. It's hard to sit here and project it all. You hope that most of the players that were on that field, except maybe Tim Ream, will be better. And it's not that Tim Ream's going to get worse. He's just getting old.
Yeah, I mean,
there's no slide on Tim Ream.
No, and the notion of Tim Ream being 40.
Hell, Walker Zimmerman's going to be
32.
32. He's going to be in his. He's going to be getting to the point where that's going to be probably his last rodeo as a starter.
Yeah. So that's what you're staring at, and Sam, when you're discussing Pep, obviously he wants to wait until all the allegations at City come down. And Ricky, basically this is it. This is the way it should be. Ricky wants a winner. Whether you have skin in the game don't matter to me. Just win. Like I said, it should not matter what the driver's license says. Shouldn't matter what the passport says. Shouldn't matter what the birth certificate says. You want somebody that's going to get you to a semi in a home game. And that list is going to be a very, very short list. And you've also got to put your pride aside as a country and not just look inside your own borders, whether we're talking Schmetzer, Curtin, Marsh. If you're looking at the law firm of Schmetzer, Curtin, and Marsh, and you're not looking at other law firms, then you're doing yourself a disservice. if you're trying to figure out who the next guy is going to be. But once again, that individual is not going to be decided until you get your sporting director in the door. And that one, as we have said all morning long, these hires are going to be, and I don't mean to be hyperbolic here as I say this, but I also don't think I'm wrong. These are going to be the most important hires in the history of the U.S. Soccer Federation. And I say that because you have a home game in 26. The last thing you want is to get bounced in the group stage or get bounced early in the knockouts with this talent pool that you have and the talent that's going to be coming through that's going to be getting you ready for 2030. You don't need that early exit. And so you need a sporting director that gets that. You need a technical director that gets that. If that dude ends up being the same, whatever, fine. And a head coach that understands the demands of the sporting director and understands the demands of a nation for a home game. All of this stuff plays into the larger picture here about getting these hires right, Jared. You've got to get it right.
You do, because you're hosting the World Cup and you're hoping that for 26 this can take you in the exponential steps beyond what 94 did for this country, for this sport, beyond what the 99 final did. In exponential growth is what you're hoping for. Now, whether that happens, that remains to be seen. But you can certainly hope for it, and you can certainly try and get the people in place to have positive steps. And then some of it also ultimately is going to fall on the fact that how much does U.S. soccer actually give a damn?
Yeah.
Because the people in charge have to also care. How much do they care beyond making sure that the check clears in their bank account every 2 weeks?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because without them caring, like you can only go so far. If they're not going to put in the elbow grease and make sure the right people are doing the right jobs.
Yeah.
And I don't know how. Oh God. Why?
Alex Zendejas is committed to the men's national team.
Is it signing day?
Yeah.
Okay.
You got Alex Zendejas committed to the men's national team. That and these kinds of things we saw from Greg Berhalter. You saw Greg Berhalter working his way through and trying to do Cruton.
No wonder he left Columbus, because as we know, most of the Big Ten hates Cruton.
Yeah.
Man, they were so mad when Urban Meyer started Cruton.
And you get Zendejas, and this is the other element, and it's an underrated element in this, I think, when you bring in your new head coach, whomever that is. Always be BC Cruton. With all of the dual nationals around, when the Mexican, when El Tri put their cards on the table, Zendejas was like, nope, I'm going to represent the United States.
In the midst of all this stupidity for the U.S. national team, they're still having a better year than El Tri.
Yes.
Because, buddy, Nick, we talked about this before, man, but, like, El Tri's down bad.
Oh, God.
The team's old. It didn't work. Coach is gone. They had infighting. You had basically attempted insurrections against the coach from the media and former coaches. Like, El Tri makes this place look like a sewing circle.
But and that's what's El Tri plays murder ball, right? They just do. They play murder ball. But they have observable issues across the board from the teams. It actually reminds me a lot of Italy at the moment, where you have club teams that are playing largely older players. They're not allowing enough youth to work their way up through the academies. They are not putting the best people. They're not getting the best selection processes for the national team as a result. And the national team's underperforming. they're losing to their rivals time and time and time and time again. But look at some of the reasons why people were selecting Mexico over the U.S. before, right? Whenever you had players who were like, no one speaks Spanish in the camps. No one speaks, my language. I feel like I'm an outsider. I don't feel like I'm included in this. And that is something where if you get a manager and a technical director who can solve that and make it a bit more inclusive for, for our bilingual friends and the U.S. is going to win that recruiting war more often than not. And so, but Mexico is in a really, really tough place. And I know it's fun and great for U.S. men's national team fans. I'm just going to start calling the acronym for acronym fans to poop all over, the Mexican national team. But CONCACAF is better when Mexico is good. And CONCACAF is infinitely more enjoyable when that rivalry between the U.S. and Mexico is very competitive. It will be better for the World Cup if CONCACAF shows out. If Canada, U.S., and Mexico ball out at this next World Cup, it allows for... I get it, Bart. I get it. You got to take the stars and stripes hat off for a moment. It is better for business if you have the three hosts do really well. It allows European teams to kind of step out of their comfort zone a bit and start getting younger players. That means transfer valuations go up. It's better for the teams. It's better for the league. It's better for everyone if Mexico starts playing younger talent, giving them a shot, being more competitive. If the U.S. can get out of the soap opera, if Canada can pay their teams,
that too.
And I don't know, get them new jerseys. I don't know,
man. How about How about like, I don't know how many people we get. I don't know if I'm going to start a war with Canada, South Park style or not, whatever. I wasn't inspired by keeping their manager. Like, yeah, he got them to a World Cup. They didn't cover themselves in glory at the World Cup.
No.
I felt like you could have. I felt like you settled a bit if you're Canada.
Well, yeah, by bringing
how much better is
by bringing Herdman over and then Herdman puffing out his chest repeatedly, and then you laid an absolute egg. I mean, you laid a Fabergé egg.
Well, they threw a sucker punch to start the fight against the Czech Republic, and Luka Modric decided they started the fight. Luka ended it.
Mm-hmm. Oh well, but yeah, you've got to. Canada's national teams are an entirely different show. That is a show in and of itself.
Yeah.
And it's not a good show. And
yeah.
The fact that you have El Tree doing see, and this is the problem here. El Tree is what it is right now. On the men's side, old, slow, and a lot of problems.
Yeah.
Canada on the men's side, with all of the talent.
Yep.
You got a coach that likes to run his mouth, talk a lot of ish, and not back it up.
Yep.
And the Canadian Federation is an entirely different matter as well. So their front office is messed up for a bunch of different reasons. Your coach likes to run his mouth and not back up his ish. You've got Mexico right now with El Tree that is old and still trying to figure out how to once again keep their network in place and still be who they are. And it's not working. And then you have what's going on here with the United States. This entire federation, your three top guns in this federation all have problems.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
Get your ish together. You have 3 years to do it.
Yep.
All three of you. You all have problems.
Yeah. And look, it's there. I feel like I'm Alec Baldwin and Glengarry Glen Ross.
This
It's
is
like,
what this is.
yeah, it's like it's there waiting for you. Are you going to take it? Are you man enough to take it? I mean, like it really is this situation where the problems are vastly different for the three big guns, and none of them seem to have one damn clue how to get themselves sorted, which means that the first team that does it is going to have a sizable advantage.
Yes.
Because if you're Canada and you figure out, okay, we need to pay the players and actually kind of like believe in our teams, and you have a tremendous, I think Mexico's in the worst shape, by the way. I think if you're Canada and you figure out the money situation, okay, you have geography that works to your advantage. You have a population that is more than happy to play in the climate and the temperatures and the situation that Canada plays in. If you're the U.S., you have more money. You have more money than God. You have more money than you know what to do with. You're completely misdirected. You have a player pool that is growing and developing faster than I think people expected it to. But you have just a cavalcade of nimrods that are surrounding the team that you got to work your way through. To me, that's pretty easy to sort. That's force of personality and somebody with you essentially need like a 5-star general to come in and straighten things out.
You need Blake. You need Blake from Glengarry Glen Ross to do this.
Yes, that's right.
A always, BB, C closing, always be closing, always be closing, always be closing. AIDA, attention, interest, decision, action.
That's right.
Attention. Do I have your attention? Interest. Are you interested? I know you are because it's blank or walk. You close or you hit the bricks. Decision. Have you made your decision for whichever being you wish to have as your God? And action. AIDA. Get out there. You've got the prospects coming in. You think they came in here to get out of the rain? A guy don't walk on the lot lest he wants to buy. They're sitting out there waiting to give you their money. Are you going to take it? Are you man enough to take it? What's your problem, pal?
That's right.
Who is Blake? Who is going to be Blake for one of these three federations, and which federation is going to get Blake to come into the office and give that speech? A, always. B, B, C, closing. AIDA, attention, interest, decision, action. Who's going to be Blake in this equation?
Well, that's the question. And yes, they do have money, Airborne. They do have money. Those coffers may be locked at the moment, but they have access to money. Mexico, the problem with Mexico is that they have stunted the growth of their youth for so long that they are just behind. They're behind the curve. They can start, they can try to hook a rocket ship to getting these kids ready to play. But there are more players going outbound from the U.S. right now than there are from Mexico, and there's a reason for that. So when you look at the situation, Mexico's in the worst shape. The U.S. needs leadership, and Canada's like their team's being ran by Jim Cornette, I feel like, but it's it's a loudmouth who is just waiting to have their face caved in.
Herdman with a tennis racket,
but they're all solvable problems, which is why it's frustrating. It's not like Italy where it's like, okay, we have decades of mismanagement and decades of club mismanagement. We are not getting out of this in a hurry.
Italy winning the Euro really was just such an amazing feat.
It was, because we were powered by the world to keep England from winning it all. We were like, Italy sat by and said, hey, Bruno, we cannot let the kingdom go and dance everywhere and put on the papers they are the best. We cannot do this. Look, we went to the store. They have a sandwich that has there's a spaghetti, and they call spaghetti sandwich. They say it's a very good. I throw up everywhere. We cannot let them win this. Okay, we cannot allow. And so then Italy says, okay, we wake up now. Luigi, wake up. Okay. And they all drank like 50 shots of espresso and won the Euros. Okay. And then we went back to sleep.
look, the Pope is from Argentina, and the Falkland War is still in people's minds.
Oh yeah. No, we're going to war for the Pope. We're going to war for the Pope. The Pope comes out and goes, "In nomine Patris et Filii et Spiritus Sancti." Like, okay, Papa, we'll be back. We'll bring you a trophy, okay? And so then, boom, off we go, and we did what we had to do for the world, okay? But the challenges are Italy is in such a state that if Mexico's not careful, they're going to be right there with us, which is not qualifying for World Cups, which is you'll jump up and you may win your domestic, international cup, but you're not domestic, your regional cup, but you're not going to win. You're not going to qualify for the World Cup if you're not careful, because you're not getting enough youth talent in the team because the clubs aren't providing your players opportunities, your future players opportunities to succeed and grow. They're way behind. So if the U.S. can unblank themselves and utilize those two things, I don't know, get a lot of action. Yes, and yes, Alex, yes, that is correct. Milan did field the team without a single Italian, if I remember. Yeah, and I'm
not joking when I say I didn't know that was allowed.
Yeah, it's not exactly looked upon well, but it is indicative of the challenges facing. And look, you were letting some of the players, some of your stars rest. Okay, it need to happen, but there's a major issue right now in Italy, and it's getting solved slowly but surely. The money is a problem. The teams that have money are very, very, very conservative. They don't believe in, allowing the risk of young players to overtake the drive to win. Look at Juve, prime example for this. It's, Juve is going to have to get very young. Milan, young, but they're going to have to bring up players from the Primavera to get these Italian kids opportunities to play. You're going to have to look at outside of just Serie A for your talent. You're going to have to look in City B and some of these, which there are heavy Italian sides. Maybe get some players from there who have potential and ability, who are being stashed by some of these Serie A clubs, essentially in a form of internship. So it's Mexico is going to have to do something, because Mexico's getting in the same lane as Italy, and that's not one you want to be in. Italy is my team. They've always been my team. They will always be my team. But if I don't speak honestly about what's happened to them and be able to look and say, okay, here's what's happening with another team that's very similar, I would be doing everyone a disservice. My team did something magnificent, and that is we beat England in England for the Euro. Yes, but the wheels fell off immediately after, right? So, and that's hubris. Italy did not make the last two World Cups because of hubris. So, we can do it. We know how we're doing. No one needs to tell us anything. Mm-hmm. Okay, great. You're missing two World Cups. Have fun. Mexico, well, we have all these legends. We can't get rid of these legends. Well, no, you have to. Otherwise, you're not going to grow. And all you're doing is keeping yourself from, being relegated or, losing your fan base and going broke. And you're not trying to shoot for the stars every now and then what the hell are you doing?
All right. Jarrett, last word before you go.
This whole thing turned into just a powwow about the U.S. national team. Ultimately, take it back to square one. Yeah, the whole thing was embarrassing with the Reynas. I do hope that Gio is able to grow, because if that's what he was exposed to his own entire life growing up, a lot of things make sense. Hopefully, he's able to grow and be better than that. So we'll see.
There you go. So Jarrett Smith has to turn into a pumpkin for the real world. Nick and I are here for a final 5 minutes. Think about the knife fight now for the level 2 in CONCACAF, because when you've got the three main federations, each with their own issues currently, what it's going to look like for, like, say, a Costa Rica, who, they got to still qualify. You still have these CONCACAF openings for the World Cup in 26. But think about what that qualification cycle is going to be like with the U.S., Mexico, and Canada out of the qualification cycle. What it's going to look like in CONCACAF for those who are trying to get their way in 26.
Yeah, that presents its own set of challenges, though, right? So if you're somebody who says, "Oh, okay, well, we have plenty of time. You'll find yourself in a Mighty Casey situation, where it's like you know, I'm too tired. I'm not going to swing at that. And then when you finally get your chance to do a mighty swing, which would be the World Cup, swinging and missing, you're out. It can happen very quickly. These three teams are going to need to challenge themselves at an absurd level in order to prep for this World Cup. And that means putting yourself in high stress situations. That does not mean going to Canada in January. It means calling up England and saying, "Hey, let's schedule a friendly at Wembley." It means calling up Italy and saying, "Hey, look, let's do one at Olimpico or at in Palermo." Which that crowd, why Palermo? Because that crowd is insane. So it means going to Spain and doing the same thing. Find the biggest, toughest venues where everyone hates you, no one likes you, no one wants you to be there. They're going to make fun of you. They're going to, rip you to shreds. Put yourself in tough situations, not temperature-wise, not physical, because the U.S. can survive most physical challenges that are put in front of it. The training program for the U.S. is second to none. The sports science, second to none. But mentally, you have to put yourself into difficult situations. And that's where the rubber meets the road. That's where you find players who are supremely talented, but under certain circumstances, they fall apart. That's not that kid's fault. It's just that, being exceedingly talented under tough circumstances, tough mental circumstances, is completely different than being extremely talented with just having to be with, heat or cold or something you can sort of shut out. But when the pressure's on and the venom is out for you, can you still perform? That's where the true judgment lies. And I don't want the U.S. hosting Germany. I want Germany hosting the U.S. I want the U.S. to say, look, iron sharpens iron, and we're going to have this mentality, this almost like Marine Corps boot camp mentality, where these next few years, it's going to be shared hardship, which is going to bring us closer together. And those who can't hack it are going to get weeded out. I don't care how good you are. If you can't hack it, you're getting weeded out. And we are going to find out which players are ready to step up, boot up, and handle this mess that's going to be put in front of you. Because if you can't handle the pressure in Munich, if you can't handle the pressure in Olimpico or Wembley, you're not going to be able to have the pressure of being the home team, crowds going nuts for you, and the pressure of, oh my God, we got to get a result. So, I want to see a different mentality from U.S. soccer of, instead of we're going to Manitoba, get the hell out of here. Go to where a big rowdy crowd is and make them deal with it there, not Canada. Go somewhere where people who are going to tell you that you're a trash player and you're a trash team, and you got to work through that.
Soccer on TV today, and obviously since the conversation took more of a well past Wednesday turn today, we'll get back into it tomorrow. Bart Keeler with us at 10:30. Hopefully Dylan Butler, if he's not doing high school stuff, he'll be with us at 10. Soccer on TV today, your Champions League. We talked about the situation with Violette. Recruiting players from inside the United States to come and hang out for this match. You're up 3-0. You got to hang on to the lead. You're the 8 o'clock. Philadelphia and Alianza is also at 8. That's on Fox Soccer Plus. Atlas and Olympia is at 10:15. You've got Austin Violet, Atlas and Olympia on TUDN at 8 and 10:15. Champions League, Manchester City, RB Leipzig is at 4 o'clock on TUDN. It's also on Unimas. Championship action, Middlesbrough and Stoke is at 4. Man City, Leipzig, Porto, and Inter are at 4 on Paramount Plus. Porto and Inter is 4 o'clock on VIX. VIX Plus has Porto, Inter, Philadelphia, and Alianza. So that is your viewing on the tube. Nick, I'm glad you were able to come back and hang out with us for a while today.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Sorry I got the thing off the rails, but
that's what the show's all about. It's about finding the rails and going off the rails.
There you go. I'll do my best to be on tomorrow. I imagine Bart will have some rather pointed commentary to send in my direction. But yeah, so I appreciate the time and everybody kind of letting me pop up like whack-a-mole. Trying to get your own business off the ground, not easy.
No.
But if you guys would like to check out photodicampo.com.
FOTODICAMPO.
Yes. Thank you. So yeah, if you want to check that out, guys, feel free to do so. But that's where my energy and efforts have been as of late. It's been exhausting but rewarding.
All right. So since you are in the captain's chair, go ahead and send us home.
Until next time, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in and allowing us to come and be buffoons for a few hours. We hope is enlightened and enlivened your day. Until next time, mucha euro, y'all.
Play it safe, everybody. Mucha plats, y'all. Since it's the end of the show, that means I get to do this. We'll see you back here at 9:05 tomorrow morning for Wall Pass Wednesday. Enjoy your Pi Day. PI 3.14159, etc., etc., etc. Bye.